Okay, we're just gonna start. And we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room. It's been a while. And I can't be sorry, because that's just how life is right now. I could get into all the reasons why it's been forever, but I won't, because it would take hours. And I'm just happy I'm back. I'm motivated because Rhinebeck's coming up. I was watching a lot of podcasts from some of my friends like Chevis and We Share Needles and so on. And I kept thinking, man, I want more. And then I was like, I actually have people that have asked me to do more videos. And not that I felt pressured, but I felt like it was time. Because this weekend's going to be huge. I'm going to do my best to document it. And I thought, well, let's put out a little video before I actually leave town to say hello, chat a little bit, get some information out there. If you want to catch up with me at Rhinebeck, I've gotten a lot of messages so far asking me what days I'm going, where I'm going to be, that kind of thing, and that cell service isn't great. So hopefully I can give you a little bit of information. Oven's ready. And I'll keep everything updated in my Instagram stories, and I'm doing the best that I can to save Rhinebeck weekend related story posts to my highlights so that you can just reel through them if you want to catch up with me. One other quick announcement, and I think I've talked about this a little bit before in previous episodes if memory serves me correctly. Usually doesn't, but just in case, I am still going to talk about knitting on here, but I just wanted to recognize the fact that my knitting has slowed down. I have had a couple of injuries to my back and to my arm. Both are doing much better. One's almost completely recovered, but that does mean that I have to manage how much time I'm actually sitting and knitting versus getting up and doing other things. So I'm still going to talk about knitting content, but I'm doing so many other things these days that I'll probably talk a lot about that stuff too. And hopefully that's not too disappointing to folks. I'm still going to try to put on a good show. But if you were just looking for knitting stuff, there'll still be some, but maybe not as much as in the past, because other things are just as important to me these days. I'm kind of slowly crawling out of my pandemic functional depression and anxiety, I think. Not that the pandemic is over, I'm just processing it a little bit better. So just, a heads up. If you don't want all the other stuff, I'm just kidding. Don't leave me. All right, so let's just get started. The knitting stuff will be in the beginning as always, and I'll let you know when that's over. I might actually have everything I need over here. Nope, sure don't. Be right back. I'm back. Now, first let's talk about finished objects. I probably have just a slightly longer list than what I'm going to go through today, but it's been so long and I've given a lot of socks away to people that I just don't have very much. And again, not sorry, it just is what it is. I think a lot of us are just now getting our knitting mojo back, or still feeling a little off and not knitting as much. That seems to be the trend anyway. So with that said, my first one is, I don't think I showed this one before. I probably should have double checked, because there's a lost episode too, where I recorded right after Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, like a regular episode, and I had the AC unit going, and the noise was just so bad, and the noise canceling feature in my video editing software just couldn't do it, so I just chucked the whole episode. Anyway, this is my first one to show you, and even if I've shown it before, this is still really pretty. I don't remember the yarn. Have no idea. I think it was part of like the Le Mercerie Year of Socks subscription that I eventually did cancel. I had to cut out pretty much all my subscriptions just because I need to stop spending so much money. I have literally a wall of yarn right now and I need to get through it. So Rhinebeck should be interesting. But anyway, this is the Earth Tones Girl Shadow Wrap Heel. Love it. It's probably my new favorite. I'll probably still try some others just for fun, but this is my new favorite. It fits my foot better than the heel flap and gusset, and it has fit really well on folks that I've made socks for over the last few months. So I'll probably stick with this one for a while. But excited about these socks. I'll finally wear them now that I've shown them off to you. Next finished object, and the last one actually, is my Musselburgh hat that I made out of a skein of Freckled Whimsy self-striping yarn. They're probably my favorite dyer for self-striping yarn so far. I think that, I feel like with some dyers, and I'm not going to name names because everybody's different, everybody has different preferences, but some of them, it's like one or two colors will change and they all sort of feel the same after a while. But I feel like with Freckled Whimsy, they really give you an awesome variety. And this one was Champagne Supernova. It was an Oasis themed song name, and I can't remember, but I think that's right. I got it from Skein Yarn Shop. They carry Freckled Whimsy self-striping yarn, and they have an awesome collection, so I would definitely check them out. But love this hat. I just finished it off with some random scrap yarn that I needed to get rid of for the inside. This is an adult medium. I think I used a 2.5 needle. And the great thing about that pattern is it's almost like you're getting 10 patterns in one, because it has gauges for different size yarn or different yarn weights. And I usually do the adult medium because I have a smaller head, but yeah, you should check it out. It's a great pattern. A lot of us are knitting it these days. So for unfinished objects, shit, I forgot something else. Hang on. Let me find it. Oh wait, I know where it is. I'll be right back. Next is a pair of socks in my Gigi Made It Delique Oh Snap bag. Love this bag. I get so many compliments on it. Number one, it has Gigi, so of course it's wonderful. And the orange stripes are really pretty. I love the front pocket. These are great bags. I can see why Kristen at We Share Needles loves them so much. So this is actually the second sock. Damn it, where's the finished one? Here it is. Here is the, this really is a hoe. I got a hoe. That was good to you all. I put it on, well, that sock blocker's not big enough. Oh my goodness, just show the sock. Okay, so let's talk about this. The cuff and the toe are from Coast to Coast Yarns Ratchet Collection. And I wish I had a never-ending supply of this colorway that I can't remember the name of, because anytime I make something, I'm like, ooh, that color would be a great addition to it. But alas, Erin has other things to dye and new things to show us. So I'm just gonna keep buying her yarn, even if it's different than this orange, yellowish, whatever one it's called. The main color is Ken Yarn, and I think this one's called For Love and Basketball. It's after a movie. So they did a special release of yarn a little while back, with Skein Yarn Shop, and it was like all movie themes, and this was one of them. And these are for my dad. He actually used to play basketball when he was in high school and college, so I thought that would be really cute. And it's doing this awesome micro striping, and it's, you know, it would pull differently if I was making something different. But yes, I use DPNs, and if DPNs are wrong, I don't ever want to be right. It's my favorite way, can't help it. I do 80 rows for the leg and 30 rows for the cuff because he likes a longer sock. Again, did the shadow wrap heel with Earth Tones Girl. I'm probably gonna take these 2 Rhinebeck with me to work on them. I've got, oh, hang on. Truck's coming through. Carrying fake grass. It's not fake grass. It's like real, you know, the rolled up grass. Y'all don't care. Anyway, this is gonna be one of the projects that I take with me to Rhinebeck. I want to take 2 easy projects so that it can switch back and forth depending on my mood. Let's go ahead and throw that in the suitcase. Gigi went flying in my living room. All right, next. Yes, I know I forgot. I'm supposed to put all this stuff on my head. I forgot. Just forgive me. I'm not gonna go get the other sock I just threw across the room though, because if I keep getting up to grab things that I forgot, this will never end. And this cannot be a long podcast because do I still need to prep the apartment and pack for Rhinebeck? Yes. Am I avoiding it? Also yes, but not for long. I will be ready, or at least be able to get in the car. So next is, actually let's do this one next. Ah, shit. No, I don't know where it is. Fuck, let me go get it. I believe there's a possibility that I just might have shown this in a previous episode. If not, how exciting your first time to see it. So I bought the Coast to Coast Advent calendar last year. I don't believe she's doing one this year because she's been doing a lot of really awesome collection releases. So I'll forgive her this time because I love Erin. Kind of obsessed with her too. Hopefully I'll get to see her at Rhinebeck. In fact, I need to message her and make plans. So this FO is a cowl. I can't remember the name of it. You can go to my Ravelry page. There's probably not going to be great show notes because I really just need to get this out into the world and then get my shit together. So if you watch this and you don't feel like rewinding to write stuff down, somebody remind me in like 2 weeks and I'll add show notes. Okay. Or maybe I'm lying and I might just end up doing them anyway. I don't know. So next, this is like an Advent cowl pattern that was released a while back. And I think Kay from the Crazy Sock Lady, I really love. I don't always watch her podcast, but because I just have a lot of stuff in my queue and a lot of stuff going on, but I do love a lot of the projects that she works on. And so she took this one like Advent cowl pattern and she just did the yarn overs in between each section. I modified mine even a little bit more and I'm just going through like an entire mini skein. I don't have any leftovers. I mean, I'm just knitting until I have enough to do the Stephen Weavin method of weaving in my ends and then I go to the next color. I know that some people will like use their leftovers for other things. I have enough leftovers. I have enough yarn and I want every single yard of the minis for that collection in this cowl. So it's going to be really, really long and I'm really, really excited about it. We're going to do, oh, let's do the purples on top. So I still have a decent amount. I mean, like I still have all of these. And these plus the main skein, which for the main skein, I'll probably do like a same size section and then do something else like fingerless mitts or something with the rest of it. I don't know. But that's the cowl I'm working on. Next up, we'll do the M cowl last so that you all who don't want to be surprised won't be, so that I don't give anything away. My other easy Rhinebeck knit that I'm taking with me is another Musselboro, which yes, I know that there are other hat patterns out there in existence, but the thing about this one is I'm trying to knit through my stash and these hats take a little bit more than a full skein of yarn. So it's helping me get through a whole skein plus some scraps. And I bought this last year, I think, from John. I think it's actually Natty Bow Dyes. John, what's your company name? I don't remember. I should look that up. I should know that. I am supposed to be friends. Your friend would remember your shop name. I'll do better. But anyway, this is called Krampus is Coming. The lighting's bad. Whatever. I don't know if you can see. You can sort of see the stellina in there. It's knitting up really nicely though. Like, I like the way it's not a micro stripe. You just get like blips of other color. So it'll be interesting to see if it starts pooling. I'm just past the increases. So this one's gonna sit in my suitcase until I get some rain back. So that'll be a really easy one, like while I'm at Wool and Folk or while I'm at New York Sheep and Wool Festival. So that I don't have to fiddle with DPNs or, let me throw that in the suitcase too. Yeah, all right. This next UFO has been a challenge for reasons that I don't always understand. It's like this project where I'll pick it up and get really excited about it and knit for a little while, and then I'm like, I'm not interested in this anymore. So I was going to try to push myself to finish it for Rhinebeck, and when you see how much I've got left, you're going to be like, you couldn't have put everything else down and done that? No, I couldn't, because I don't pressure myself like that anymore. And it's going to be too friggin' hot to wear a sweater this weekend, okay? Like, I'm just accepting it. Maybe next year when I go, I'll plan to make like a cotton or a linen like tee or vest or something. But this year it's going to be shawls and t-shirts and hoodies. And if you're going to judge me, bye. All right, so this is The Weekender by Andrea Mowry. It's very crinkled, and it's a mixture of mostly Woodpile by Coast to Coast Yarn. You see a lot of that, and that ratchet colorway that she did, and then another one. This is also Coast to Coast Yarn, but it was like I think it was part of like her August 2020 mystery club, like monthly mystery club. Pretty sure. So I do not remember the name of this one, but it's really pretty. I made a pair of socks. They're on one of my first couple of podcasts because I finished the socks. So if you really want to know the colorway, that's not available anymore. You can go there. So I'm on the sleeves, and they're looking good. This is just one sleeve. I think I'd change a couple. I don't know if I would knit this again, especially not the way that I did it, holding fingering yarn double. I also wish that I had knitted with a smaller needle on the body to get a slightly tighter gauge, because I think I would have liked that fabric better. And since this is non-superwash, I am worried about it growing so much that it's going to be too big. And I love my gauge on the sleeves, which is a little bit tighter because, you know, magic loop, which I don't love doing, versus regular in the round. But I'm going to finish it because I'm just not going to rip this out. And I think it's going to be pretty. And if it does end up being too big, then I'll just wear it around the house. I have this issue where like I think I'm bigger than I really am. And so like I overcompensate in my knitting. And then even when I'm like, these are my own issues I need to work out. And I'm like sitting there sizing myself and I'm like, I don't want to make this size sweater. But it's like, but that's the size that fits you if I picked the right size. So like a little bit of like body positivity that needs to happen in my life a little bit more, but I don't know. There's nothing wrong with this sweater pattern. This has been fun to knit. I just wouldn't do 2 strands at a time again. It's not my favorite way to knit. I'd make it a tiny bit smaller and go down a needle size, because I think based on all the patterns that I've knitted by Andrea Mowry so far, her gauge is definitely looser than mine. And like, for example, oh my gosh, what's it called? The really pretty like mosaic shawl. I can't remember right now. Not Find Your Fade. Night Shift. The Night Shift. My gate, I should have gone like up a needle size for sure, because it didn't turn out like as big, but I could just block the hell out of it too. Oh, it's supposed to go on my head. I'm rambling, but anyway, I am gonna love this sweater when I'm done with it, and I'm just gonna only pick it up when I feel like it, and I'm okay with that. I don't need to power through. I'm the one that sets the deadlines and tortures myself with them. And I'm not doing that anymore. I do what I want. Okay. I think this is the last thing. So this is the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along. This is another one where I'm not pressuring myself to finish at a certain point in time. I think I finished the one last year late, but I don't do it for anything other than I really love learning new techniques and figuring out what in the world it is that he's going to get us to do. I saw like a meme the other day. It was like, let me spoil it for you. You'll never wear that MCal shawl. That's only if you don't do a good job picking your colors. Because let me tell you, my shawl from last year, I wear it all the time. Most of the time I wear it, not just to keep me warm, but just because I love getting compliments on it, because I used a color palette that fits in my wheelhouse, right? And so I'm doing the same thing here. So again, if you don't want to see this, look away now, but I think most of you watching are either not doing it or you've already started and you're probably ahead of me, which is fine too. Well, let me show you my yarn. So last year mine was all Craft Me Not Yarn Co. This year, most of it is, but I did have to, because I'm pulling from stash, had to pull in other yarn. But this is Petal, which is gorgeous. And this is one of the first like collections that she did, the first collection that she launched. This is from that. And I bought kind of an insane amount of that yarn because I love it so much, and I never liked pink when I was younger. And so I decided I need to start like using it. I think I even told Sarah I've been holding on to like the original colorways that she made. Like my life depends on it, and I'm gonna start using them. This other one, which I don't remember, I think it's called Love Potion, is from a sock set that she did last year, or maybe it was the beginning of this year. It was the beginning of this year. So that's my contrast, or this is my first contrast. Fuck. Hang on, let me show you the last one and then I'll show you the order. So this is my main color. This is Hedgehog Fibers. It's a super dark chocolate brown. And I don't know if it's the particular skein that I'm knitting with right now, or if this is normal, because I've had somebody say this to me before. This yarn splits a lot. Like I'm talking at least once or twice every row. And again, I don't know if I just got a lemon skein or if their base is normally like this. And some people love Hedgehog Fibers. I'm not judging the company, not judging the people that like it. It's just not my favorite yarn base ever, but it is looking gorgeous. So that's my main color. This is my contrast color, and then this is my accent color. And I posted this in my stories and Instagram, so some of you have probably already seen it. And then, okay, here it is. So this is how far I've gotten with Clue 1. I think I've only done like 2 repeats. Is that right? Yeah, I'm at, I think it's like row, I'm not gonna make up the row numbers. When you get to the repeat box, I've done the second one, so I have like 110 stitches right now. And I know that he says that you don't have to worry about stitch count, but I have been paying attention just because, and this will probably change, but for right now, I care. And I'd like to at least get close. Oh my God, this is so tangled. Oh, and I'm using my Naughty Knitting sack that has fornicating unicorns in it. And I used I think this is my MCal bag, because I used it last year too for the MCal then. And I have a feeling I'll probably always do these just because, again, I love learning the new techniques and the mystery piece of it. But I think I'll always probably pick mostly neutral colors just because if I'm going to put together like 4 to 6 skeins of yarn, then I'm going to like that shit. Then this is my other knotting knitting sack with the Weekender in it. And this has got fornicating skeletons. And she gave me a coupon code for you all. And I'm a bad podcaster and I don't remember it. So somebody... Okay, that's it. Also, I want to share the Earth Tone Girls tutorial with you. So hopefully I'll remember to do that too. Because her tutorial videos, number one, are amazing. She's so talented. God, I hope she's at Rhinebeck. I haven't even looked to see if she's coming or not. And she just seems like she would be the sweetest human being ever. Love Denise. I need to catch up on her podcast. I'm really far behind. Like, I haven't been doing much YouTube watching in the knitting world, unfortunately. But, because I've been obsessed with books a lot more lately. But, maybe I'll fix that soon. I'm caught up on like a couple of people, but, okay. Let's put all this stuff up. Whew. Man, it's hot. Okay, so that is it for the knitting content. I mean, I haven't really bought a ton of yarn. I did have to do like some stash supplemental purchases to help me with the MCal, and then like 2 of the skeins I never ended up using that colorway, so it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've bought something here or there, but not a ton because I knew Rhinebeck was coming. But then I started buying books and other shit that I probably really didn't need. So that's a conversation for another time. Retail therapy has got to end. But for now, it is what it is. But, you know, one thing that I will say that I got this a while back, and I might have even talked about it around the time I got it. But if I didn't, here we go. It is the Cocoa Knits Makers Board. Whoops. I think I'm actually missing a couple of magnets. Surprise, surprise. But, and it's covered in stickers now. But this is the board. It's made out of like cardboard, whatever. It shows my Lola Bean obsession mostly, with a few other folks in there. And so the cool thing about this is when you open it up, I got this from Skein Yarn Shop. When you open this up, it like folds out, and like you can like tuck your pattern in these little pockets, and these have like the metal board inside of them. And so you can have it sitting like this. Now, the rulers, both of these rulers do not come, or this is a needle gauge and this is a ruler. Those do not come with the Maker's Board. I wish they did. I mean, it's not a big deal. I bought them separately, I think from Skein Yarn Shop. Have no idea if they still have them in stock. Somebody does, I'm sure. But it comes with all these other magnets. And they probably do it to keep it cost effective. And not everybody probably wants the rulers. But I have to say, like, being able to, like, fold the patterns so, like, you know, you have the cheat sheet of the different abbreviations here, or like a repeat chart, and then your actual pattern, and then like I'll use the ruler to help me see like where I'm at. I love this board. I use it all the time. It's really cool because if I'm taking like stitch markers and stuff on or off, I can put them on one of the magnets to hold them. This is probably one of my favorite knitting, non-yarn knitting related purchases this year. I think my second favorite is probably going to be the latest Radical Threads issue. I think it's volume 3, which I pre-ordered from Lola Bean Yarn Co. Excited about that. But yeah, non-yarn purchase, this Cocoa Knits Makers Board. I've tried a couple of different things. This one's probably my favorite. So it is definitely my favorite way of holding a pattern, because I need the printed pattern. I don't print like the whole thing. I only print the sheets that I need to save some trees, but sometimes it's just better to have it like this. So there's that. Let me write that down so I can link it for you. Coco Knits Makers Board. Shit, man, I am just never gonna get a 30-minute podcast up. I'm gonna go through shows and movies pretty quickly. Again, I haven't been doing a ton, and I can't remember what I've been watching the last few months since the last time I did this, so I'm not even gonna try. House of the Dragon, meh. Rings of Power, meh. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Other people are wildly passionate one way or another. Whatever. I'm not that excited about it. They're not horrible, but I don't think that they're great. And I'm not going to fight you if you have a different opinion. You're allowed to have a different opinion. And we'll go on from there. I have started my second or third annual Halloween Watch Fest. I know that there's like Instagram tags and like different posts that people are using. I'm not doing anything official. This is just something I've always loved to do, and I'm making it slightly more official by calling it my Halloween Watch Fest and doing it during the month of October and announcing it to you here. That's about as professional as we're gonna get with that. I started with Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'm watching Buffy because, I mean, again, like I've watched Buffy before, like several times. I mean, yeah. I almost wanted to text the friend that got me started on it a while back and be like, thank you for bringing this into my world. Definitely gonna save the movie, the original Halloween, for Halloween night, because that's probably one of my favorites. Nightmare on Elm's, I already said that one. What else? Nightmare Before Christmas is always on there. Watched Hocus Pocus 2. It was cute. I think that people who are upset that it wasn't as good as the first one forget that most of us watched that first one as children. It wasn't like a cinematic masterpiece. It was a cute Halloween movie that was good, and we're feeling very nostalgic about it. So of course you're not going to enjoy Hocus Pocus 2 on the same level. I think kids will really enjoy it. I thought it was cute. I'm adding it to the queue for next year on my list. Sleepy Hollow, although I have mixed feelings about watching Johnny Depp movies anymore. And I just won't go into that tangent because I used to be like such a huge fan of his movies, and I'm just not going to go there. I'm just not going to go there today because I want this to not go on for 5 hours. Now, with that said, one of the many reasons I have not been knitting as much, and I'm fixing this with audiobooks right now, is I was always a bookworm when I was younger, especially when I was really younger. Like, my mom would take me to the library and I'd check out the max number of books that I could possibly get, and I would read them all in like a day or two. Like, even just like walking around the house with a book in my face probably drove her crazy, but she supported, you know, my love for reading. So did my dad, of course. My dad's a big reader. He reads a ton of books. But, you know, college and life stuff happening, and I just stopped reading quite as much as I used to. Well, that's changed. So not only am I renewing my obsession with books, but I've also started watching booktubers, and that's where I got, I'd say, a decent amount of these recommendations. So let's go through these really quick. And I probably should have sectioned these out for you in some sort of order, because we've gotten very fantasy heavy. Fantasy is probably my favorite genre. Always has been, but historical fiction is a close second. So let's run through these real quick. Ooh, let's see how many of these I can balance on my head. I mean, the camera is only gonna go but so high, but that's fine. You can trust me. First is, I don't do a lot of subscriptions. I think a lot of them create a ton of waste and send us shit that we don't really need. And I'm trying to control how much I consume. And a lot of these books that I have on my bookshelf that I've been buying, I do want to donate to like the library and the little free libraries and stuff like that over time. But book of the month, I've loved it so far. It has a very diverse number of authors. I was really pleasantly surprised by the diversity in their authors and the type of books that they have on there. You know, every once in a while I skip a month. And I think I used a link from one of the booktubers that I watch. Maybe it was Peruse Project, which I'm going to list out the booktubers that I follow. Some of them are guilty pleasures and some of them are legit. Like, I just adore their recommendations. I won't say which is which though, because that was probably a really rude comment. For people who, like, in some cases do this like as their job. Well, actually, that's not true. Probably only one of them does that, and he's awesome. Anyway. Okay, first one, book of the month, The Stardust Thief. I loved this book. It got a little slow in the middle, but other than that, I thought it was a really cool, like, Arabian Nights, Aladdin type atmosphere. Some of it was probably a little predictable, and the main villain was a little too on the nose as a villain, an evil villain, and needed a little bit more depth in my opinion, but maybe we're gonna get more of that in the next book. So The Stardust Thief, I definitely recommend. Oh, this is gonna be tricky. I started reading the Wheel of Time series. I've only finished Eye of the World, and I'll probably pick up the second one. Oh, no, Siri. I'll probably pick up the second one. What the hell? Siri keeps talking to me, and I don't know why. Stop, Siri.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
Yeah, no shit, something went wrong. Stop. Okay. So, Eye of the World, I really liked it. I'm going to read book 2, The Great Hunt, but probably not until like February, because my brother Daniel and I are going to read Les Mis together starting at the beginning of 2023, because I love big books and I cannot lie, and you other readers can't deny that when a big fat book with a nice thick, I'm done. Oh, this isn't gonna work. I also finished the Shadow Glass series. This is a trilogy. Ah! They're gonna fall. All right. We're just gonna stop that before there's a total disaster. The Shadow Glass book is the last book in a trilogy that was really cool. It takes a lot of Japanese culture and the geisha culture and turns it into like this fantasy series where the geisha actually have powers to control these beasts like dragons. They call some of this stuff, some of these things like dragons and geisha and whatnot. The writer uses different terms for it, which I thought was really interesting, but I loved this series. The audiobooks are okay. The person that reads that trilogy, sometimes her voice would get too quiet and they didn't do a good job of like managing that, but other than that, I loved them. And she actually does the audio for the Poppy Wars, which I read as well, and she did a much better job. So we'll just put the Poppy Wars. I'm trying to get diverse in my fantasy too. I tried to read N.K. Jemisin's The 5th Season, and the chapters in second person cannot handle it. I can't handle it. Don't write to me in second person. I mean, she can write whatever she wants. It's just not my bag. And maybe it's only for a part of the story and that'll stop, I hope. I just can't. The audiobook was a little bit easier than sitting down and like actually reading it, but I don't know. I just don't have time for that nonsense right now. Next, this is like my pre-spooky season read. It's gonna fall. Nettle and Bone. Loved this book. By the way, I am not listing all of these books at the bottom. I will list my Goodreads link and you can follow me on there. Anyway, Nettle and Bone was a great pre-spooky season or spooky season read. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was super cute. For some reason, the romance in it surprised me a bit, and maybe it shouldn't. Maybe it's because some of these books I'm reading them like before I go to bed, and I'm fighting like going to sleep to keep going. And so like I noticed in the book that I'm reading right now, like something was said in a later chapter and I was like, oh my God, I should have freaking picked up on that. Oh, look, my rainbow sticker is putting color all over me. Whatever. But yeah, I'm like, I should have picked up on that like 200 pages ago, but because of the time of day that I'm reading the books, I don't always catch that stuff. So Nettle and Bone, highly recommend it. Very fun book. Then I've got, this is the last, no it's not. This is close to last for the fantasy series. So I am now addicted to Brandon Sanderson. And I've also gotten my father addicted to Brandon Sanderson. And I think it's because, I mean, I love all types of fantasy because there's like subgenres, right? Or maybe you didn't know that. You can look it up if you're not sure what that means. But with Brandon Sanderson, his are not your typical like Lord of the Rings type trope. He has created his own universe. And a lot of that universe can be seen in, the hell is in the, oh, bookmark that I thought I lost. Anyway, so I think that his writing style is very accessible to folks who want to try out fantasy. That's something a little bit different. This is the Mistborn series. It was the first, these are the first and only books I've read by Brandon Sanderson so far, but I have a couple of his other books on my shelves ready to dive into those at some point. I got to be careful with what I pick out to read the next few months because of the read along I'm doing with my brother. And then last for the fantasy series, these books, these are by Brian Lee Durfee. It's a trilogy. It starts with The Forgetting Moon, and then the second book is The Blackest Heart, and the third book comes out next month, and I can't remember what it's called. And these are probably my most surprising books that I love right now. Only because like with this one, I mean, these are big boys. This is about 800 pages and this is about 1,000 pages. Like you could kill somebody with this book. You know what I'm saying? Like, which is kind of funny because they are so gory and bloody. But it makes me feel like it's more of a like dark fantasy version of Wheel of Time, only in the way that it is this epic journey to find certain people and certain things to kind of save, not necessarily the world, but save people from this evil king. And that's all I'll say about that because there's a lot. It's pretty intricate. So with high fantasy, which this is high fantasy, for those of you that don't know, high fantasy is when everything is made up. You know, you have different races of like elves and dwarves and whatnot, and the entire world is a new world. There's nothing set in, you know, in our world. So the thing with reading any high fantasy is like the names of people, the names of places, you know, all the way down to the magic system. They're usually going to be words and names that you're not familiar with. You don't hear in everyday life. And so it can take a minute for me anyway, because I'm only just now getting back into reading big, heavy stuff like this, literally and figuratively. So it took me a minute to get into it, but then I found after the first, like, I don't know, 100 pages, it was still enough to be like, I'm going to keep going to see if I actually like this. And then the next thing I knew, I was almost done with it. So, and the audiobook is awesome. But if you don't like extreme blood and gore in scenes, I would not recommend this, but it is epic. I love the characters. I love the story so far. I have my predictions about, like, right now, certain characters are supposed to mean certain things to this story and to these prophecies. And I have predictions of who those people actually should be, and that everything still isn't as it seems. So that's where I am probably about over 30% through of The Blackest Heart. So that means I'm in the like 300 page. And yeah, this one's a big boy and I love it. Bigger the better, I'm telling you. But I do love smaller books too. And again, I am sure that I'm leaving out a ton of stuff because I know that I've read, I think I already talked about maybe I did, maybe I didn't. See, this lost episode's really screwing me up because I read Hannah Gatsby's, I think it's The Steps to Nanette. That was amazing. But I'm not seeing anything else on my shelves that I'm missing. Oh, Shonda Rhimes has an autobiography out. I listened to that. I'm listening to that. I listen to it sometimes when I walk. Man, she talks about, I won't give anything away, but it is heavy, 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 heavy. And just wow. I'm not even finished with it, and she's so incredible. So I'm reading through that. I read Take My Hand. This is another book of the month book. I'm going to get in under an hour. I just know I am. Because the rest is going to fly by. Read Take My Hand. I love this freaking book. It is so good. And it has opened my eyes up even more to some of the social and racial injustice that's not just going on right now, but that has been going on for a really long time. Mainly the sterilization of Black and brown and indigenous women against their will or without their proper consent, and then being like tricked into it or forced into it. And so this is historical fiction, but it's also not so historical if you catch my drift. So I ended up ordering 2 books that I'm looking at. There's one book called Killing the Black Body, and that was recommended by the same person, Michelle Alexander, who wrote The New Jim Crow. There's like a blurb on the front from her, so anything that she recommends, definitely going to read, because The New Jim Crow is something everyone should read. And then You Don't Know Us, and I'm not going to say the last word of the title because it's not my place to say it, but it's a book of essays and writings by Zora Neale Houston. If I got that wrong, I'm sorry. Anyway, so this book opened up my eyes even more. Like, I knew that some of these things talked about in this book were an issue, but this highlighted how much of an issue and how widespan it is. Like I said, the sterilization of women against their will and without consent is still happening. It happened to a lot of indigenous women who were wrongfully incarcerated by ICE, because I believe that nobody is illegal. Enough said there. And so these women are held in captivity and were forced to be sterilized. And so there are just so many women that this happens to. And I feel like I need to read more about that to understand it a little bit more. Moving on from, well, in that same vein, especially, specifically on racial and social justice, I am reading How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. And I say I'm reading it in small chunks because it's the kind of thing where I really want to absorb everything that he's put in here for us. Like, he'll define certain terms, like what ethnic racism and what ethnic anti-racism really means, and understanding the difference between racism and anti-racism, and just different examples that he gives on those two terms and how they fit into different aspects of racial and social justice. So it's definitely one of those books where I feel like it deserves for me to take my time, although I do need to read another chapter soon. Oh my gosh, and my lunch is almost over, so I've really got to finish. And then finally, probably a contender for one of my favorites this year is Just Kids. This was a memoir written by Patti Smith, and it was incredible. Another bookmark. I actually listened to the audiobook with one of my brothers on our way to a family vacation. And Patti Smith is the narrator, and she does an amazing job. And I just loved it. I don't say this often, it was perfect. Especially when it comes to books. I'm very picky. It was perfect. So, and if you don't know who Patti Smith is, look her up. Music's incredible, especially her earlier stuff. She's got some amazing artwork, and she was around a lot of really amazing people. I got cut off. So BookTube. The ones that I watch the most are Shelby in the Book Club, Jess Owens, Mike's Book Reviews, Daniel Green. I think his channel is called like Fantasy News, Murphy Napier, and Peruse Project. Now, the last four, well, I guess Jess Owens, I haven't watched their channel, I don't know their pronouns. I haven't watched their channel much, but I do see a lot of fantasy books on their channel, so I don't know if they're predominantly fantasy readers, but I would say the last four, Mike's Book Reviews, Daniel Green, Murphy Napier, Peruse Project, are mostly fantasy, with a couple of them sprinkling in other reads. Peruse Project's a really cozy one to watch, in my opinion. And if you want like a lot of diversity in your reading, Shelby in the Book Club, Jess Owens, and Peruse Project are probably the top contenders for diversity, but all of these booktubers are amazing. And I say that they're the top contenders because, especially with Shelby and sometimes Peruse Project, again, I need to watch more of Jess Owens before I make this declaration, but I feel like for them, not that I feel, they are definitely more intentional about diversifying your library and what you read, while the other ones still have sometimes a diverse set of authors and books. They're more intentional on it being fantasy. So I just wanted to make that clarification. Okay, so, I mean, I know I said that the Ernie stuff was going to be at the beginning, but we are going to go ahead and talk about Rhinebeck real quick. Never fear, Supervisor Ophelia will have someone to supervise while I'm gone. I've got someone staying with her, so the apartment will have an occupant. I don't like leaving my apartment empty, especially when I'm announcing that I'm going away somewhere. So if you're going to break into my apartment, there will be somebody here and they will fight you. No, but seriously, I've got somebody great taking care of Ophelia, and that's always a plus when you leave your little babies and somebody's going to take care of them. Because she had a huge vet visit recently, so it'll be nice to have someone hang out with her. She's doing fine though. She's sleeping on all the knitted items that I'm trying to pack, so, you know, packing might happen like much later today. I'm getting in Thursday night, and I am gonna go, I have no idea what time. I'm gonna try to leave at like 5 in the morning, because driving through Northern Virginia and then again through like Maryland and then again, like driving up north is a lot. It can be a lot. And so you have to leave at a particular time. Hoping that I'll get there before dinner time so that I can check in and chill out and find all of my friends that are staying in the same hotel that I am. I will be at Woolen Folk on Friday. Right now I'm planning on being near like the podcasters patio sometime before they do the Q&A at the end of the day. I will get a specific time. I just haven't really seen a specific time on the Woolen Folk website or on their Instagram account. So yeah, once I have a better time, I'll let you all know well before that event happens, like at least by the night before, right? Cell service supposedly isn't great out there. Wi-Fi is terrible. So this is just how we're going to find each other. And if we don't find each other at, set times and places, then hopefully we'll find each other wandering around the 2 festivals. So yeah, Wool and Folk, I'm going to try to be there most of the day. And then I definitely want to check out the Andrea Mowry meet and greet. I think that's from 2 to 3. And then I figured I'd slowly make my way to the podcasters patio soon after that so that I could meet up with anybody I haven't found yet. Aquila and Johnny Bo are going to bring a record quilt. And so I will be hanging out with them. I'm mostly going to probably be stalking them or Chevis on Friday. So if you see one of them, I'll probably be very close by. Then Friday night, there's a skating party, but I don't know if I'm going to go to that. I haven't roller skated since middle school. I'm still dealing with a herniated disc, and I think it's like $40 to get in, and tickets might be sold out. And I'm trying to manage my money really well because, I've got a hotel for 3 nights in New York. Like, that shit ain't cheap, bitch. So I haven't figured out what I'm going to do Friday night. I was going to see if some folks wanted to go out to dinner. And I'm going to message anybody that I know that might be there to see how they feel about that. But I'm going to try to go to bed early so that Saturday when I'm at New York Sheep and Wool, I'm well rested and I'm ready to be there all day. So Saturday, I will be wandering around. I'm going to look at the vendors ahead of time. There are only a few things that I really want to get while I'm there. This is more of like a trip to meet people and eat good food and less about buying yarn because I do not need or want a ton of yarn. I have everything that I need, and I've got one friend in mind that I want to buy yarn for and somebody else in mind that I want to make some fingerless mitts for, and I want the yarn to specifically be from Rhinebeck, and that's about all I'm going to do. Unless I find a really cool bag, that could happen. So I'm thinking on Saturday, I believe I posted this in my stories. If I get it wrong, go to my stories highlights, and the information there is way more official. Also because that's what I'm going to be referencing to remind myself what I've said I was going to do. But I think I'll meet everybody that wants to hang out with me and say hi on the hill at 1 o'clock. I have not been to Rhinebeck before, and I've heard it's more of like a gentle slope than it is a hill. So yeah, that's where I'm going to be at 1 o'clock, and also just kind of wandering around the festival. And so one thing that came up at Maryland Sheep and Wool that I thought was pretty funny that I just want to call out is that for some of you, I don't know your actual name. Like, I see your Instagram handle and that's how I know you. So if you're like, hey Jessica, I'm Bobby Sue, I'm probably gonna ask you what your Instagram handle is, just because I will recognize you that way, hopefully, and that'll give us a good starting point, and I'm terrible with names. So just wanted to call that bit out. But yeah, I figure other than that, I don't have any major plans for Saturday except to hang out and check things out. I can tell you my shopping time's probably not going to be huge. I'll probably be wandering around mostly out in the open air. I will be masked because I'm high risk, so are some of my family members, and the pandemic's not over. So I'll probably like run in and shop real quick and then run back out into the fresh air and hang out outside. And I don't know what my plans are Saturday night. I'm hoping that some people want to have dinner again because I love going out to dinner. And then Sunday morning, I'll be heading out pretty early. So that's kind of my Rhinebeck plan. I know that everybody likes to like knit sweaters and shit, and I've already said this is gonna be too fucking hot for me. So y'all have fun dying of heat exhaustion in your sweaters. No judgment, no hate, just not gonna do it. And I think that's it. I'm not gonna get into life stuff just because I wouldn't even know where to start. And these last few months have been just such a fog because so much has happened. Yeah, I'm almost kind of at a loss. I'm like, I know I existed the last few months, but how did I exist and what was I doing during my existence? I don't know. It's an existential problem. Couldn't tell you. But one thing that I'm going to try to do, so don't hate me too much if I don't do a great job, is I do want to kind of vlog my experience at Rhinebeck, just because I'm going to be around so many cool people and doing so many cool things. And it'll be a little reminder for me next year when I start planning things out of how I could plan better. So yeah, I will try to do that. And if you all would be interested in seeing a little bit of a vlog from me during this weekend, you just let me know. And my first promise to you though, oh, I'm looking at my bookshelf. One of the books I forgot, A Man Called Ove. Frederick Bachman is amazing. He's an amazing writer, and A Man Called Ove was amazing. And I think they're coming out with an American version of the movie later this year with Tom Hanks, and I want to read all of Frederick Bachman's work. He's amazing. Okay, let's jump back. So I'm feeling self-conscious because my window's open and somebody just walked past it. And I'm talking to myself. I mean, I'm talking to you and I'm talking to myself, right? All right, so I'm gonna end this because it's time and I still have to pack and edit it and get it out on YouTube and clean my apartment. And I have like less than 48 hours to do all that. So I hope I get to see some of you at Rhinebeck. If not, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope that we can find some time to meet up in the future, because I am still planning on going to Maryland Sheep and Wool next year. I'll probably try to go to Shenandoah Fiber Festival next year and Rhinebeck. So 3 fiber festivals next year that I'm saving up for. Wish me luck. Maybe I can find some of you who want to like share an Airbnb or something like that. We'll talk about that later when it's time to plan though. Have a wonderful week. Everyone be safe, whether you're traveling or not. Only knit if you feel like it, and only knit what you feel like. Go forth and prosper, friends. Bye.